La Présidente.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Can I ask you to take your seats? Good to see you all back in Strasbourg. So I have two announcements. First of all, could I ask you please for some moments of silence? First of all, dear colleagues, on the results of the presidential election and referendum in Moldova. The people in Moldova have chosen their future. They chose hope, stability, opportunity. They chose Europe. The European Parliament strongly condemns any activities, interference in Moldova's presidential election and constitutional referendum on EU integration. We are proud to be one of Moldova's strongest allies and supporters, and we understand that Moldova's future lies within the European Union, and we fully support its EU accession path. President Maya Sandu and her government have already made remarkable progress in implementing reforms, and while the road ahead may not always be easy, I want to assure our European Moldovan friends that the European Parliament will continue to be with them every step of the way. Also, dear colleagues, on the 16th of October, we marked 7 years since the brutal assassination of Daphne Galizia, a Maltese investigative journalist who exposed corruption and organised crime. Those who thought they could silence her were wrong. In fact, her work sparked a movement that echoes in every corner where we pursue a Europe that protects journalists, that respects the rule of law. I am grateful to have known Daphne beyond her writing, as a woman battling the odds, as a mother who was so proud of the men her boys grew into, as a daughter, wife and sister who wanted more from her country, and she raised the bar for all of us in politics. But most of all, today I think about how we must keep Daphne's memory alive, how, and the European Parliament will keep pushing for the truth, for justice and for accountability. It is for this reason that the European Parliament is proud to be hosting the 4th edition of the Daphne Caruana Galizia Prize for Outstanding Journalism. And I take this moment to encourage you to attend the award ceremony this Wednesday in the Daphne Caruana Galizia press room to honour the bravery of all those who continue to carry her legacy forward. This House remembers her, and we honour her legacy. Now, dear colleagues, the minutes and the texts adopted at the sitting of the 10th of October are available. Are there any comments? The minutes, therefore, are approved. The competent authorities of Poland have notified me of the election of Hanna Gronkiewicz-Waltz to the European Parliament, replacing Marcin Kierwiński with effect from the 10th of October 2024. I wish to welcome our new colleague and recall that she takes her seat in Parliament and its bodies in full enjoyment of her rights, pending the verification of her credentials. The PFP Group has notified me of decisions relating to changes to appointments within committees and delegations. These decisions will be set out in the minutes of today's sitting and take effect on the date of this announcement. The TRAN Committee has decided to enter into interinstitutional negotiations ahead of Council's first reading, pursuant to Rule 73 of our rules. The positions adopted by Parliament at first reading, which constitute the mandates for these negotiations, are available on the plenary webpage, and their titles will be published in the minutes of the sitting. The competent committees have transmitted 9 corrigenda to texts adopted by Parliament. Pursuant to Rule 251, these corrigenda will be deemed approved unless No later than 24 hours after their announcement, a request is made by a political group or members reaching at least low thresholds that they be put to the vote. The core agenda are available on the plenary webpage and their titles will be published in the minutes of this sitting. I would also like to inform you that together with the President of the Council, I shall on Wednesday sign 17 acts adopted under the ordinary legislative procedure in accordance with Rule 81 of our rules. The titles of the acts will be published in the minutes of this sitting. Now I have to inform you that I have received multiple requests for points of order. So let's see. I ask all the colleagues who will now be given the floor, quite a few of you, to please quote the rule under which you would make such point of order. And if I can please make an appeal that such points that would not be points of order could also be done as 1-minute speeches. So I start. Petras Austrevicius. No pressure.
Thank you, Madam President. It is very much point of order about us and somebody. I would like to draw the attention of my colleagues to a visit of Smer MEP Luboš Blaha to Moscow last week, where he thanked Russia for freedom and peace. On behalf of the informal group of Friends of European Ukraine, I would like to state that the Russian government has caused the war in Ukraine, bringing death and destruction in a sovereign state. Such actions are shameful and incompatible with the EU policy. We are here to set up a policy line, not to become Putin's propagandist. They might be the position of the Smer party, but not of the European Parliament. Madam Speaker, I expect that Luboš Blaha's trip to Moscow will be properly evaluated by the EP leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Austrevicius. I give the floor next to Ms. Małgorzata Goziewska.
Dziękuję bardzo Pani Przewodnicząca. Wniosek formalny na podstawie artykułu 202 Regulaminu Parlamentu Europejskiego. 19 października minęła 40. rocznica porwania i męczeńskiej śmierci błogosławionego księdza Jerzego Popiełuszki, patrona Solidarności, ruchu, który przyniósł wolność Polsce i Europie. Oto jego słowa. Solidarność to jedność serc, umysłów i rąk zakorzenionych w ideałach, które są zdolne przemieniać świat na lepsze. To wołanie wielkim głosem o poszanowanie ludzkiej godności. To jednocześnie dostrzeganie drugiego człowieka i jego problemów. To troska o uwięzionych, upominanie się o wolność dla nich, to opieka nad ich rodzinami. To braterska troska o wszystkich, którzy są szykanowani i dyskryminowani za nasze wspólne przekonania. Właśnie za głoszenie takich wartości ksiądz Jerzy poniósł męczeńską śmierć z rąk komunistycznej władzy. Błogosławiony księże Jerzy, oręduj za Polską i Europą. Uprzejmie proszę wszystkich o uczczenie chwilą ciszy niezłomnego kapłana, błogosławionego księdza Jerzego.
I give the floor now to Mark Botenga.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Sur base de l'article 188, vous savez que les députés européens gagnent en poche facilement 14 000 € par mois et chaque année avec notre groupe, nous demandons de baisser ces salaires pour que les députés soient un tout petit peu plus en phase avec la réalité des travailleurs qui, eux, peinent à boucler les fins de mois. Et chaque année, ce vote, effectivement, permet de démasquer les députés qui, d'une part, prêchent l'austérité et la misère pour les travailleurs, mais d'autre part, s'octroient, eux, un salaire généreux de 14 000 € par mois. Mais aujourd'hui, en coulisses, vous dites non, ce n'est plus admissible, vous ne pouvez pas vous voulez empêcher ce vote, vous ne pouvez plus introduire. Je sais bien, chers collègues, que vous ne voulez pas qu'on touche à vos privilèges, mais laissez-moi parler. Et vous dites que ces revenus sont garantis par d'autres textes, mais justement, en refusant aujourd'hui de voter le budget nécessaire, mais nous pouvons ouvrir cette porte pour faire le premier pas et justement là-dedans revoir tout cela. D'ailleurs, l'année passée, vous aviez permis ces amendements. Qu'est-ce qui a changé par rapport à hier, ce qui ne serait plus vrai aujourd'hui? Est-ce que c'est parce que la campagne électorale est terminée? Madame la Présidente, revoyez cette décision. La politique sert pour servir et non pas se servir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Botenga. I will give you the explanation. You file a point of order under Rule 188, which is actually a point of order, but I will answer you. So the amendments tabled by your group on the lines and figures of the General Budget 2025, concerning the salaries and allowances, etc. This has been examined and declared inadmissible simply because we want to apply the rules, and I will tell you why. This is because they are in contradiction with the existing regulations. In other words, one, the statute for members of the European Parliament, and the Council regulation determining the emolument of EU high-level public office holders based on Article 243 of TFEU and 223 TFEU. So the right procedure would be to express a call on the responsible institutions to amend the mentioned regulations. However, you will have seen as well in this spirit that the corresponding amendment that you tabled to the resolution on the general budget calling for this change has been declared admissible, because that can be declared admissible. So I will go next to the point of order by Mr. João Oliveira.
Senhora Presidente, quero expressar o meu total desacordo com a sua decisão discricionária e sem fundamento de recusar, sem justificação, a proposta de debate sobre o agravamento da situação humanitária em Gaza, na sequência das declarações do Coordenador Especial da ONU para o Processo de Paz no Médio Oriente. Na quinta-feira, a ONU declarou que mais de 1.800.000 palestinianos enfrentam fome extrema. Ontem mesmo, aquele coordenador especial da ONU emitiu comunicado falando de pesadelo, cenas horripilantes na Zona Norte, ataques israelitas implacáveis e uma crise humanitária cada vez pior, e incito que nenhum lugar é seguro em Gaza, condenando os contínuos ataques contra civis. Aquele responsável disse: a guerra tem de parar agora. Apesar de tudo isto ter acontecido em condições que permitiam que o debate aqui fosse feito, a senhora Presidente recusou aceitar sequer a proposta. Desafio-a a colocar à votação este pedido de debate, enquanto continuarem a chover bombas em Gaza, a morrer crianças, mulheres e civis. Este debate será sempre urgente e imprescindível.
Bombs are dropping on women, on children, on civilians, and as long as this continues to happen, we need
It is precisely because the rules need to be applied that decisions are taken. So, as you know, pursuant to Rule 164 of our Rules of Procedure, an amendment to the final draft agenda is admissible only in response to events or political developments which arose after the adoption of the final draft agenda. It is that reason why these are discussions that have been taking place already, could have been decided upon the adoption by the Conference of Presidents of this agenda, and it was not. I give the floor next to Ms. Virginie Joron.
Madame la Présidente, chers collègues, chers démocrates, chers légalistes, c'est un rappel au règlement en vertu de l'article 219 qui prévoit le respect de l'égalité des genres dans la composition des bureaux des commissions qui n'est pas respecté, comme le respect du résultat des urnes, c'est-à-dire la démocratie. En effet, Madame la Présidente, en ignorant plus de 20 millions de nos électeurs, vous avez accepté de ne pas respecter la démocratie en accordant une dérogation au principe de l'égalité des genres pour M. Weber dans plusieurs bureaux de commission. Comment pouvez-vous accepter qu'en commission compte, la commission qui contrôle le budget de l'Union européenne et qui doit donner l'exemple, continue de ne pas respecter nos règles? En commission compte, cette règle que vous souhaitez exporter jusqu'au Kazakhstan ou encore organiser une semaine dédiée à l'égalité des genres en décembre n'est pas respectée au cœur même de notre institution. La composition du bureau de la commission compte viole notre règlement avec l'absence d'une quatrième vice-présidence. Madame la Présidente, je vous remercie de faire le nécessaire pour mettre un terme à cette hypocrisie et respecter notre devise unie dans la diversité.
Respect our motto, United University.
Thank you very much. You refer to Rule 219, but you also know that political groups can effectively choose to derogate from that specific rule, which is what happened in this case. and that is the reality we are faced with and the work we are presented with. I give the floor next to Manon Aubry. Come on, wait. Ms. Aubry.
Ça tombe bien, chers collègues, j'avais envie de vous parler de démocratie et de faire un rappel au règlement sur la base de l'article 154 à propos des accords interinstitutionnels pour vous évoquer l'état des négociations entre l'Union européenne et le Mercosur. Et je vais commencer, chers collègues, par une question assez simple. Qui trouve cela normal que le plus important accord de libre-échange jamais conclu par l'Union européenne soit en train d'être signé en catimini sans que notre Parlement n'ait la moindre information, telle qu'elle soit? Allez-y, dites-moi qui est d'accord avec ça et levez la main. Vous le voyez bien, j'ai fait les comptes. Ça fait exactement 5 ans que la Commission européenne n'a pas donné ni publié le moindre compte-rendu officiel sur l'état des négociations. Alors bien entendu, cet accord de libre-échange aura un impact désastreux sur nos agriculteurs qui souffrent déjà, sur la santé, sur la planète. Mes chers collègues, c'est aussi un scandale démocratique. Et comment accepter ainsi d'être tenu à l'écart? C'est pourquoi, Madame la Présidente, je vous demanderai de demander des comptes à la Commission européenne pour qu'elle nous tienne enfin informés. Parce qu'on ne peut pas se laisser ainsi, chers collègues, respectez votre mandat, on ne peut pas se laisser ainsi bananer par la Commission européenne. Il est temps de lui demander des comptes. Je vous remercie.
And now finally, Sebastian Tunkunen.
Madam President, I raise your attention to Rule 144 of the Rules of Procedure and more specifically to its Article 3. The rule stipulates that as a general rule, the questions shall be answered by the addressee within 6 weeks of being forwarded to it, and that those designated as priority questions shall be answered by the addressee within 3 weeks of being forwarded to it. Although I am new in this House, I know I am not the only one who has experienced that these deadlines are often not met. Madam President, I would warmly welcome any means that would push the Commission to better stick to these timelines set in the Rules of Procedure and respect the rules of this House. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tunkunen. As you can see, your colleagues agree with you, so this is something that has been an outstanding issue, and we can put pressure on the incoming Commission to respect the deadlines that we have set. Thank you. So that's done with the points of order. We move to the proposals to change the agenda. Now for tomorrow, Tuesday, the Greens group has requested that a Commission statement on the outcome of the Italian court related to the agreement between Italy and Albania on migration be added on Tuesday afternoon as second item after question time. As a consequence, this sitting would be extended to 11. I give the floor to Ms. Terry Reintke to move the request.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear colleagues, last Friday an Italian court invalidated the detention of 16 asylum applicants sent to Albania by the Italian government. Italy is a democracy with an independent judiciary and courts that can freely rule on existing cases, also to stop illegal actions by the government. Still, members of the ruling far-right coalition, including members of the government, attacked this independent judiciary and the judges that ruled in this case. Colleagues, we cannot stay silent on this. Rule of law, including separation of powers, is a key fundament of the European Union. We have waited for far too long regarding Hungary to speak up. We cannot make the same mistake again. That is why my group requests a debate with the following title: Commission Statement regarding the ruling of the Italian court related to the agreement between Italy and Albania on migration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I have two colleagues who have asked to speak against the request. First, Nicola Procaccini and then Thomas Tobé.
Thank you, President. Colleagues, first of all, there's a mistake in the title and in the meaning of the debate proposed by the Greens. The Italian court ruling mentioned by the colleagues deals with something else. It does not call into question the Italy-Albania agreement. An international agreement, of course, cannot be judged by a civil court. So next time, please, colleagues, collect more accurate information or go back to school. Regarding any other proposed debates, I understand that there's a desire to discuss how to deal with the legal and illegal migration. Fortunately, a debate is already planned for Wednesday morning, where we can compare our points of view for almost 2 hours. We will do it, you bet.
Thank you, Mr. Procaccini. Mr. Tobé.
Well, thank you, President. I think it is clear and already stated that this request should not be supported. It's very clear. It's not about the protocol about Italy and Albania, as you say in what you're asking for. And also, it's not even a final decision in the court. And it's also a decision based on an EU directive that actually will be replaced once the new migration pact is fully adopted. And I think it's also about a general question, because we had a request in plenary before from the Patriots about another decision. And we could, of course, make this chamber to nothing else than debating different court decisions. I think when it comes to migration policy, we should be serious. We should be balanced, and we should use our time to actually debate real things and not only try to make court decisions that you may like or not like to be in favour of them. So that's why the EPP will reject this request.
Thank you. So I have also received an alternative proposal from the Renew Group, which is the Commission statement outcome of the Italian court related to the agreement between Italy and Albania on migration and implementation of the pact. I give the floor to Ms. Keller, Fabienne Keller, to present the alternative. Please go ahead.
Oui, merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Nous savons que le pacte asile-migration, la politique migratoire, a occupé l'essentiel du Conseil européen de la fin de la semaine dernière. C'est un sujet de préoccupation pour nos concitoyens. Nous avons la fierté aussi, l'ensemble de cette Chambre, d'avoir adopté un pacte, un équilibre pour traiter la question de la migration illégale, mais en respectant nos valeurs. Nous savons aussi, chers collègues, qu'il nous faut encore 2 années pour le mettre en œuvre. Mais nous ne pouvons pas accepter qu'un État membre utilise une voie détournée pour contourner ce qui est prévu dans le pacte et les règles précises que nous avons définies ensemble. C'est pourquoi nous proposons de rebondir sur la proposition des Verts et d'ajouter la dimension mise en œuvre du pacte, évidemment, chers collègues, dans son ensemble, dans l'ensemble de ses devoirs, de l'application de ces règles, mais aussi des garanties des droits de l'homme et du respect des droits fondamentaux que nous y avons intégrés. C'est dans cet esprit que nous proposons ce débat amendé. Je vous remercie.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Keller. Now, Ms. Reintke, do you agree with the alternative proposal? So the Green Group does not, and therefore I put the request, the original request by the Greens Group, to the vote by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. And therefore, wait. I now ask Ms. Keller, do you want to keep your request? Yes, Ms. Keller wants to keep the request, so the proposal to the Renew Group is now put to a vote by roll call. Vote is closed. And it is rejected, so the agenda is unchanged. The agenda is now adopted, and the order of business is thus established. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Those of you who will stay for the next item, please stay in the room, and the rest, please exit quietly. Okay, dear colleagues, can I ask you to take your seats? We go to the first item as we mark International Day of the Eradication of Poverty. Could I ask the colleagues who are going to stay for this item to take their seats? The next item of the agenda is a statement of Parliament on the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. So last week, dear colleagues, on the 17th of October, we marked International Day of the Eradication of Poverty. Poverty is not inevitable. It is a challenge that we can and we must overcome. Across the world, far too many people still struggle. Far too many people do not have access to clean water, to clothing, shelter, healthcare or education. And far too many people are excluded from society, denied the possibility of a dignified job, not given the opportunities to achieve their potential. Given that 1 in 5 Europeans and 1 in 4 children under the age of 18 in the European Union is at risk of poverty or social exclusion, the reality is as serious as it is alarming. Here in the European Parliament, we refuse to be bystanders. We are proud of all the work we have done already in making our Europe a frontliner in the fight against poverty, and yet more work remains. Poverty is a symptom of inequality, and we understand the responsibility that we bear to ensure that every person, no matter who they are or where they come from, has a chance to live with dignity, with purpose. This is why the European Parliament is looking forward to seeing the European Union's first anti-poverty strategy that was announced in the 24-29 political guidelines of the European Commission. This is a positive step forward. By investing in education, affordable housing and job creation, by ensuring our social safety net works, we can lift millions out of poverty. This House will continue turning our policies into concrete action, and we will continue to fight for fairness, for dignity and for opportunity for all. We will now have a round of political group speakers, starting with the EPP, Lisbeth Sommen.
Geachte voorzitter, beste collega's. 17 oktober was het Internationale Dag tegen Armoede. En zo'n dag is natuurlijk heel belangrijk. Maar nog belangrijker is dat wij elke dag aandacht hebben voor mensen in armoede. Want armoede mag nooit een taboe zijn. Want collega's, die cijfers over armoede in de Europese Unie zijn echt verontrustend. En daarom ben ik zo blij met de EU-strategie tegen armoede die aangekondigd is door de commissievoorzitter. En belangrijk is, wij gaan die strategie uitvoeren met het brede sociale middenveld. Want wij moeten inzetten op die preventie tegen armoede met een echt sociaal Europa dat werkt aan kwaliteitsvolle jobs en een echte Europese gezondheidsunie. En met die Europese kindgarantie hebben wij ook een belangrijk instrument in handen. Maar zeker belangrijk is ook dakloosheid. Dat moet een voorname plaats krijgen. Niet alleen in de Europese strategie tegen armoede, maar ook in het plan voor betaalbaar wonen op Europees niveau. En dit in samenwerking met het Europees platform ter bestrijding van dakloosheid. Want collega's, alleen samen en met een alomvattende strategie kunnen wij armoede echt uit de wereld helpen. Ik dank u.
Thank you. I give the floor next on behalf of the S&D Group to Gabi Bischoff.
Danke, Frau Vorsitzende, werte Kolleginnen und Kollegen. In der Tat, wir sprechen inzwischen von 100 Millionen Menschen, die von Armut und sozialer Ausgrenzung in Europa, einem der reichsten Kontinente, bedroht sind. Frau Präsidentin hat es gesagt, mehr als jeder fünfte Mensch hier in Europa. Und dieser internationale Tag zur Abschaffung der Armut, der muss wirklich ein Weckruf hier sein, weil wir mehr brauchen. Ja, wir brauchen eine Armutsstrategie. Aber wir brauchen auch konkrete Politik. Und eine davon ist in der Tat, dass wir ein festes Budget für die Kindergarantie von 20 Milliarden in einem eigenen ESF Plus brauchen, um die 19 Millionen Kinder, 19 Millionen gestohlene Zukunft, um die besser vor Armut zu schützen. Und brauchen Maßnahmen. Aber wir dürfen nicht nur national bleiben, sondern nach den Verträgen ist Armutsbekämpfung auch das Hauptziel der europäischen Entwicklungspolitik. Das muss so bleiben und muss unser Kompass sein zur Bekämpfung der Armut auf der ganzen Welt.
Vielen Dank. Next, Malika Sorrell for the PFP Group. 1 minute.
Chers collègues, 34% des Européens renoncent à des soins médicaux et nombre de nos jeunes sont en grande souffrance. C'est la tiers-mondisation de nos nations. L'Europe d'Hippocrate, de Pasteur et de Marie Curie n'est même plus capable de soigner les siens, tout en érigeant en dogme la préférence extra-européenne. Alors que la pauvreté touche chacune de nos nations, la Commission va verser 1,8 milliard d'euros à la Moldavie. Et l'immigration issue des couches sociales les plus pauvres bat des records. Pour Enrico Letta, aucune réforme, aucun progrès ne sera possible sans la participation des citoyens. Cette participation, je vous le dis, est impossible, car ces conditions ne sont pas réunies. Relisons Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Pour que l'État soit vertueux, il faut d'abord leur faire aimer la patrie, mais ils ne pourront l'aimer si elle ne leur accorde que ce qu'elle ne peut refuser à personne. Nous sommes là au cœur du mal qui détruit l'Europe. Chers collègues, j'aimerais comprendre, est-ce l'indifférence ou pire, le cynisme qui conduit à nous lamenter sur une pauvreté que nous organisons. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Madame Sorrell. Chiara Gemma for the ECR Group.
Presidente, colleghi, la povertà non è soltanto una questione economica, è una piaga sociale che mina la dignità e la speranza delle persone. Combatterla è un dovere morale e una responsabilità politica che deve impegnarci tutti, senza eccezioni. C'è un aspetto che merita una particolare attenzione e che troppo spesso viene trascurato, la condizione delle persone con disabilità, che sono tra le più esposte al rischio di povertà. I dati parlano chiaro. Il 28,8% delle persone con disabilità in Europa vive in condizioni di povertà e di esclusione sociale. Questo dato è inaccettabile, soprattutto se pensiamo che stiamo parlando di una categoria già vulnerabile, che deve affrontare non solo le difficoltà economiche, ma anche le barriere strutturali, culturali e sociali che la società impone. Non possiamo tollerare che in un'Europa che si proclama paladina dei diritti umani e dell'inclusione, quasi un terzo delle persone con disabilità viva in condizioni di disagio economico. La nostra forza si misura dalla capacità di includere chi è già più debole. Grazie.
I give the floor now on behalf of Renew Europe, Charles Goerens.
Merci Madame la Présidente, Monsieur le Commissaire. La lutte contre la pauvreté doit se manifester tant à l'intérieur qu'à l'extérieur de l'Union européenne. Cela étant, la pratique semble confirmer ce propos. En effet, l'Union européenne, certes, n'a pas réussi à éliminer la pauvreté comme chacun de nous le souhaiterait. À sa décharge, rappelons que ces compétences sont insuffisantes pour régler ce problème. Les États membres, par contre, disposent de moyens ô combien supérieurs à ceux dont dispose la Commission. À ce propos, l'on constate que les États membres qui ont de meilleurs résultats en matière de lutte contre la misère chez eux sont souvent les mêmes que ceux qui s'impliquent aussi de plus dans la coopération au développement en faveur des pays du Sud. Cette corrélation n'est pas anodine. Elle nous fait penser que la solidarité est indivisible. C'est donc une question de cohérence une question d'équité qui s'applique dans le même esprit tant à l'intérieur qu'à l'extérieur de l'Union européenne. Pour appuyer mon propos, il suffit de lire les rapports annuels du Programme des Nations Unies pour le développement et de comparer aux résultats obtenus à l'intérieur des États membres en matière de lutte contre la misère.
Now, on behalf of the Greens Group, Maria Ohisalo.
Dear President, dear colleagues, I urge you to see poverty. Poverty that comes in millions of different forms. It can mean a person struggling without fresh water and housing thousands of kilometers away from here. But poverty can lurk in situations where your neighbor is not able to access medical care in time of need. Poverty can look like sleeping rough outside the European Parliament. But poverty can also come in the form of lack of empathy. Lack of empathy which prevents politicians from seeing the struggle of so many. Lack of empathy prevents politicians from making decisions that would eradicate poverty. Because we know that the International Day of Eradication of Poverty and Homelessness is every day and it is every night. Dear colleagues, I urge you to see poverty, and I urge you to take concrete action and fight against it. And I urge the Commission to present an ambitious anti-poverty strategy with legislative proposals to reach our objectives.
Thank you. Next is Leila Shaibi for the Left Group.
Merci Madame la Présidente, Monsieur le Commissaire, chers collègues. En France, un jeune sur 4 vit sous le seuil de pauvreté. Un étudiant sur 2 est obligé de sauter un repas par jour. Vous vous souvenez de ces files d'attente interminables devant l'aide alimentaire pendant la pandémie de Covid? Ces images, elles avaient fait le tour du monde. C'était il y a 4 ans. Et que s'est-il passé depuis? Rien. Pourquoi l'Union européenne ne demande-t-elle pas au gouvernement de proposer le repas à 1 euro pour les étudiants? Pourquoi continuons-nous à agir comme si la pauvreté était un phénomène météorologique, une espèce de catastrophe naturelle? Non, la pauvreté ne tombe pas du ciel. Sans inégalité, il n'y a pas de pauvreté. Bernard Arnault, l'homme le plus riche du monde, a vu sa fortune dépasser les 200 milliards d'euros. 200 milliards d'euros, c'est plus que le PIB de la Slovaquie. Imaginez ce qu'on pourrait faire avec cette somme. On pourrait faire 200 000 hôpitaux, 40 000 écoles. Vous voulez agir contre la pauvreté? Taxez les plus riches, taxez les multinationales. Allez chercher l'argent là où il est. Merci.
Merci Madame Shaibi. Petar Volgin now for the ESN Group.
Скъпи колеги, дълго време силните на деня обясняваха, че когато глобализацията окончателно победи, когато бъдат премахнати всички държавни граници и всички държавни пречки пред бизнеса, ние ще станем богати и щастливи. Разказваха ни, че когато милионерът стане милиардер, това ще направи и нас, обикновените хора, богати. Защото, нали, според постулатите на така наречената trickle-down economy или икономика на просмухването, приливът повдигал всички лодки. Само, че действителността се оказа много по-различна. Да, богатите ставаха още по-богати, милионерите ставаха милиардери, но лодките на обикновените хора не се повдигаха. Даже много от тях потънаха. Колкото повече държавата минаваше на заден план, толкова повече се увеличаваха неравенствата и бедността. Има само един начин, по който може да бъде преодоляно това. Държавата отново трябва да стане активна. Тя трябва да създаде такива правила, които да помагат на работещите хора да живеят по-добре. Наднационалните институции няма да направят това. Те се грижат за интересите на мегакорпорациите. Нужна ни е повече държава и по-малко транснационални институции.
Mr. Enrico Letta, presentation of the report, much more than a market. Give me 1 second and I will invite Mr. Letta here. We have today with us former Prime Minister of Italy, Mr. Enrico Letta, to present his report, Much More Than a Market. Mr. Letta, caro Enrico, welcome back to the European Parliament. Your report came at an extremely timely moment. As we embark on a new legislative term, this House recognises that the future of Europe will be defined by our ability to make ourselves more competitive, how we are able to grow our economies and pay back our debts, to fuel our innovation and turn seemingly impossible challenges into opportunities, to create jobs and futures with dignity. That is what our people are asking from us, why Europeans went to the polls last June, and what our voters are expecting us to deliver on